Hello everybody, hope you're doing okay. Well, I hope you're doing better than me. I've been suffering from man flu for 2 weeks. I haven't been basically doing any running, and I think John Broom's gone down in with it now as well. Anyway, welcome to edition 9 of the Running YouTuber News. I thought this week I'd concentrate on a 10k special. We had the Telford 10k, which was the fastest ever 10k, at least by the number of sub 30 runners in the UK. And we also had another one in London. And on the shoe front, I saw the Adios 9ers come up, and I still haven't run on my Nova Blast 5s. Let's discuss all that. Anyway, first of all, off to the Telford 10k. So first of all, I thought I'd borrow a bit of footage from running the red line, which is Andy Maguire and Brett Elesmore. This is the end of the 10k race. Jack Rowe won it in a chip time of 28.01, and that is his gun time there, 28.02. So I think that was a 10k road PB for him. Bit of a gap now to the second athlete, which is the well-known Phil Seisman here, and he comes in a time of 28.28. And then we had a stream of runners, Kadir Omar there, 28.34. And as I said, I counted 58 runners under 30 minutes on chip time and 56 on gun time, which I've worked out is the fastest ever we've got in Power of 10. And I checked with a few colleagues, and we think even in the 80s, the really big sort of televised races, we didn't think they had quite the depth of there. They may have the sort of the quality at the front. So yeah, remarkable running. And also in the women, we had Amelia Quirk winning it in 32 minutes 34 from Sarah Astin in 32.42. And we had 49 women sub 36, which is also a very, very strong field, isn't it? So it's very easy to see why this was the fastest 10k in the country. I think partly it's because the first 500 metres is downhill, then it's on a very smooth old railway path, so one that I'd liked. And I think this week we'll concentrate on featuring a few YouTubers that I haven't really concentrated on before. So let's sort of go through them and see how they all did. So first up, we've got a chap here called Max Kelly, who's not a YouTuber I've noticed before, but a very good runner. He's got a previous PB prior to this race of 32.30. He runs for Western Tempo. And in this race, you can see he had to go at taking the bicarb stuff. Didn't think much of it, but he seems to have run fairly well. So not a huge amount of footage of Max actually in the race. Obviously, a good athlete like him is concentrating very much on running it. It's him there in the orange. Although it's quite a smooth path, it does look a bit narrow, but I think one of the footage I've seen that there was plenty of room for the runners once they've all spread out. And Max did a very impressive time of 31.44, which was a huge PB for him. I think that's his girlfriend there. And he said he did even a negative split. He said actually found the slowest section was the opening downhill bit, maybe just sort of box for room. But I think sometimes in those sort of situations can be a blessing in disguise. I think people will sort of say, oh, it's really cramped at the start. And I've had a few races like that myself. When I look back at the splits, I was running perfectly happily. And actually being forced to hold back a bit was definitely a blessing in disguise. So yeah, he's very happy with his run there. I think he's got the Barcelona half marathon to come on. So one on the channel, I'll be sure to check out more and see how he's going to that. I think it's about a 71-minute aim for the Barcelona half marathon. And he then goes on to a bit of a post-run debrief of how it all went. So next up, we got Rayleigh Adventures. Now this is a couple called Ryan and Hayley, hence Rayleigh. I think that's the combination. It's Ryan Baker and Hayley Cotton. I think they both run for the Kenilworth Runners. So Ryan's not a bad runner. He was in the wave one. There was actually 3 waves at Telford. The first wave was kind of the fast men. The second wave was the fast women and the sort of middle athletes, and then the third wave was kind of like all the rest basically. So I think it was about 1,300 runners that finished the race spread across those 3 waves. So Ryan was wearing a head cam and he did a bit of a POV footage of the race. Didn't make any commentary as I can recall, but some nice graphics there. I'm interested to find out how he does that actually. So we see on the footage here they're passing Dawley and Sturchley Old Station, which was apparently closed to passengers in 1952. This is the Silkin Way, this old railway path. So yeah, a very good run from Ryan. I got him down here for a new PB of 33.46, which was a 7-second improvement on what he did previously at Telford, 33.53. And here the leading runners in slow motion, just sort of see the bounce off the road that they make. Yeah, it's quite impressive, isn't it? Yeah, I think even when we're sprinting, it don't look that good. And just a flood of these club runners of very high standard coming through as well. Just amazing, the standard in this race. So here's Hayley in wave 3. Now she also ran very well. I've got her down for a previous PB of 46.40, and in this particular race she did 46 minutes and 08. That's Dawn Broom going through there. We'll talk about her in a minute. There's Hayley there in the green top. So yeah, a fine run from Hayley. It's always good to do a big PB, isn't it? So there's another chap there who's another YouTuber. We'll feature him in a sec. And it looks like that car was about to literally sort of like take off, didn't it? But here's Haley, I think, coming onto the last little stretch at the finish. So, and yeah, looking very pleased with themselves afterwards. So yeah, well done to those two. Another channel I hadn't really seen much of. I've kind of heard of them. I think it's quite noticeable, all these sort of Midlands channels, they all seem to know each other quite well. It's like a little set of channels that I'll be keen to sort of follow through in a bit more. So next up, we've got a channel called Mack Tracks, another one I haven't actually heard of before, and a bit of research. This is Mack Ashworth. Now, I thought this was quite a good video because although it was just a POV video, he actually made a point of doing a voiceover, just giving his commentary afterwards, which I think really brings those ones to life. And it wasn't like a full video, so it was only, what, a 9-minute video here. So, you know, it was just taking the best parts of the run. He's taking you through how he's getting on. He ended up doing a PB, but it was a sort of a hard way of doing it. He did 42:32, and he was very pleased with that. But I think he went through halfway in 20:48. So yeah, he went off a bit quick, but still come up with a 55-second PB. So I think it's quite a new runner. And you can see that massive heart rate, isn't it? Yeah, just to find out how he does that. It looks like a bit like a chorus view, is it, on there? And I think I've seen a picture of him actually running with a head cam on, and this is quite handy because he gave all the other channels that he saw on the day, and I think somebody else did that as well. So yeah, it's a nice little sort of club of these channels which all kind of support each other, and they're all quite low subscribers, aren't they? So I think it's interesting to see that the different takes of the runners, the slightly different ability levels, the fact they're in different waves. Some went off with a negative split, some went off with a more positive split, which I think is always more likely in 10k. I think all the 10Ks I've ever done, it's always been a get off as fast as you can and try and avoid slowing down too much. But yeah, especially on a course like this when you've got this massive downhill start. So yeah, definitely a good video, this one, worth checking out. And another one I'll be keen to follow his progress. Now, a channel that I know far better, and of course have met up with John Broom in the British Masters 5K when he edged me by 5 seconds. So he was going for yet another attempt at a sub 40. And it wasn't to be John's day. I think he picked up a bit of the virus that I've had for the last few weeks, and messaging him recently today seems to have actually got worse. So you maybe even have to not do parkrun tomorrow, but we shall see. Anyway, so John actually valiantly got round in 41:30, so not quite the race he was hoping for. But I think I saw in the footage later on that he really didn't look very well at all. And yeah, Dawn was saying, well, he shouldn't really have run. But I think John's one of these athletes that just likes to get out and run if he can. And I think he's not had a day off running now since 2022, which I found quite remarkable. There's Dawn in her wave. I think they did the bicarb again, both of these two. And then they are looking at, in their Airbnb, looking at Andy Rayner in full glory. So here's John doing the bicarb. I don't think it did him much good today. I think he was using a spare takeaway cup to get it down. I do wonder about this stuff. I mean, have you tried it? I just feel like, is this taking a step too far? I mean, I think there's been a lot of hype about it, especially around the 800-metre runners. There's a lot of feeling that a lot of the reason for the very fast 800-metre times at elite level this year has been down to bicarb. But I don't know, club athletes running in a 10K, it just seems a bit excessive to me. And yeah, is it a placebo effect? Because if you run well, it must be down to the bicarb. And if you don't run well, it must be something else. I was thinking, well, if you run well and got pink socks on and you like pink socks, well, maybe that's the secret. And there you can see John looking decidedly unwell, I would have to say. And maybe a bit more sympathy from Dawn that I might get from Sue, but she was basically saying that he shouldn't really have run. But as I say, a better run from Dawn. She did 44:30, came second in the W60s, so I think she was pleased with that. And wasn't really a race that I think she was A1 up for, but a good run nonetheless. And I've heard that she's going to be taking a bit of downtime, just sort of taking it easy this week, just a bit of rest and recovery after a very successful racing year. Now, I think both of us need to get well for the Bourton 10K at the end of February, which may be John's next attempt at a sub 40. If the way we're currently going, I'm not sure I'm going to make it to the line because I've run now for 2.5 weeks. But yeah, plenty of time yet, and I found for my 5K at least I got back to finish quite soon. Now, somebody who did a far better, I think, relatively, was Donato, who's now age 63, and his remarkable rise in subscriptions continues apace. He's now past 12K subscribers. I think a few weeks ago he had the same as me, about 7K. So I did attribute that, I thought, to his uploading of comedy shorts. And this video here got 1,000 views. So not necessarily quite the same level as his subscription base. But anyway, a very fine run from Donato. And I got him down here for a time of 39:29. Not quite his fastest time this year, which was 39:22 in Dewsbury in February at the start of the year. But he was very pleased with that. And he also managed to get the first M60. just scroll through to the end of the race here, did a full POV of the whole thing. So yeah, perhaps a bit long, although he did do a full commentary, but maybe nice to have some graphics on the screen. But anyway, yeah, said 39.29 and a good run from Donato for sure. If you go back to the running the red line video here, this is Brett Elesmore finishing, and another one that I haven't quite come across yet. He has his own channel called Obi-Wan Brand, and together with Andy Maguire, they do the Running the Red Line podcast. So this was kind of like a bonus episode. Andy, obviously coming straight out of Valencia Marathon, wasn't racing today, although we did do a 1 mile time trial video, which I'll comment on just in a sec. And so yeah, Brett, another athlete I'm learning about, and this was another PB, 35.41, just put it on the screen there. And he's also a 2:55 marathon runner. So yeah, clearly a very fine club runner. I think he's a 40-something runner. So yeah, I do get rather jealous of all these runners who are still doing PBs. So days of me doing 35-minute 10Ks. I can still remember them, but there's about 10 years ago and fading. So yeah, I think more the aim these days is to get under 40. But I also think if I can do that, I can push on. But seems to be sort of 2 steps back and 1 step forward most of the time. But yeah, very fine run from Brett. So let's have a quick look at Andy's time trial here. He's just starting. There's absolutely a horrendous night on the track here. It's absolutely pouring down a rain. I think he said he was wearing the Takumi Send 10s, which seems to be a good shoe for this one. So I think the aim of this one was to see if he can get under a 6-minute mile. Now, if you recall, he did 3:21 in Valencia Marathon. I think he's also got an ambition to try for a sub-20 park run. I think he might be trying on Saturday, actually. So yeah, by the time you see this video, you may have already done that. So it was quite a good run, this time trial from Andy, well, time trial come race. I think if we scroll through the laps here, he was like basically straight on 1:28 at 1 lap. And if we scroll through to halfway, they're bang on 3 minutes, just to 1:31. I thought this time he was going to sort of fade a bit. Clearly got a lot of fitness coming out of Valencia, because in this 3rd lap, he kept it well controlled. And you can see here just coming onto the line. And I think, if anything, he's already starting to speed up a bit. I think this was actually just under 4:30. So yeah, this brings me back. This is my bread and butter, doing mile time trials come races. So yeah, 4:30 bang on. And I think basically in this last lap, he just emptied the tack. I think you can often find that in short races. If you just hold yourself back a bit, and you've always got these people to work off up ahead. So you always think, oh, if I really put a spurt in, these people can come back really quickly in a track race. And you see, there's so much sort of surface water there, isn't there? So yeah, not the best of night, this for sure. But at least I suppose you're not going to overheat in this weather. And he again comes in, I believe, with a 5:51, I think it was in the end. Let's just follow this through to the end. So yeah, it's interesting to see that you've got a bit of speed there. And I was thinking, well, what of the 3:21, the 5:51 that he does here, or a sub-20 aim would be the best? Well, I suppose at the moment, I was thinking, well, aside from my illness, then, well, I've already done the sub-20 with the 19:36. Marathon obviously haven't done, and the 5:51, although I'd be disappointed with that, it probably wouldn't be much out for what I could actually do. So I think based on that, it's got a reasonable chance of a sub-20. But also, you kind of think, and also when you look at it, you think, well, actually, in that sense, maybe a 3:21, you could improve on that, I think. I think it's always difficult when you can do the conversions, because I think people always naturally do better over 5K than they do over marathon. I think principally because people don't do the relative amount of volume of training to really get themselves out of a marathon. And also with a 5K, you can keep having a go at it, can't you? And if you blow up in a mile like this, well, it's not really a serious race, and it doesn't really matter if you go to a park run and you can, just try out different tactics. And some weeks you might want to try, and some weeks you might not do. So anyway, just to see how he gets on. Which of those performances, a 3:21 marathon, a 5:51 mile, or a sub-20 park run, if he manages it, which one would you be most pleased with, and which one do you think would be the best for him? Well, that's Mack Ashworth, who's actually already featured in the video. So yeah, as I say, they do seem to all know each of these guys, don't they? And just showing here that your Strava can be a bit out. You need to put it into track mode, otherwise you get a 5:37 PB mile, which is obviously a bit flattering, isn't it, when you did 5:51. Now, there's a few other YouTubers, again, not really knowing very well. This is a very good runner here called Connor Rogers, and he hasn't actually done a post-race video yet. He's doing a pre-race workout here. I just want to mention him because he came in with a massive PB of 30:55, and he's wearing these Diodora carbon shoes, which I'm hearing good reports about, and he actually said he got sent these, so interesting to know whether he actually raced them in the actual 10K. Anyway, his previous PB was 31:42, so but he does have a 5K PB of 14:41, 14:43. So he's clearly a very good athlete, and I think a 14:43 and a 30:55. And now it's sort of getting quite close. If anything, I'm still say the 5K is slightly better. And he runs for Wrexham. So, yeah, I think the runner hasn't been running too long. So, clearly got a lot of talent. So, one to watch for sure. Now, considering the theme of 10K races, this is my friend Stephen Cousins, normally seen on a treadmill or halfway up a mountain, but he did actually turn up for this 10K. And typically of him, he turned up because he got a free entry. So, yeah, I don't think it was really an influencer fest, although Aubrey was also there. I don't think they actually met up because I don't think Stephen featured him in his video, nor vice versa. But yeah, a bit of a tough day out for Stephen, I think. He did it 41:22. He'd run a bit faster in Brighton, and just outside 40 minutes, and he did a fine 19:21 Worthing Park run the day before, so maybe he was a bit tired from that. It was a bit of a strange course, this one. It was around the Olympic Park, not actually going in the Olympic Stadium. I think they finished on the sort of effective community track, warm-up track. You can see the stadium there in the background. Well, that's Adam Holland, who actually won the race in 31 minutes. So, yeah, another fine runner. And he's often also sometimes seen on the Swift. Sometimes he had a few goes at trying to break treadmill world records. So, yeah, so interesting to see that he was winning this race. I think it was a huge field, but yeah, I think all the talent was at Telford. Although, interestingly, he said he actually won his age group, but all the M60s were faster, and it was kind of the reverse at Telford. The M60s was won by Donato in 39 minutes. I think the winner here of the M60s was about 37 minutes. So just goes to show. And here's Adam looking a bit cold before the start, but I suppose, yeah, you don't want to be overdressed before you go on to a 31-minute run, do you? And yeah, Stephen there, he's now a fellow M55. So I always thought I was quite a lot older than him, but now we're in the same age group, so I've got no excuses. I think he's training to run a fast road marathon, so his PB's 2:55. So I think he's hopeful of getting somewhere near that. I remember last time for Paris when he did the PB there, he really came on strong at the end, and he did a few 10Ks where it was kind of like this, was around about the 40-minute mark, not very spectacular, but he really came through on the training. And he's a bit of a mileage monster, Stephen. He'll go out and do ultra trail marathons for training and a lot of slow running, and he's also getting the amount of speed volume as well. Sort of a fellow Walton club mate there, not quite sure who that is, but you can see there's a bit of a strange course, going a bit up and down, and starting with the 3:55. Looks like the cycle track there, doesn't it? Looks like he's also got the endorphin elites on. But yeah, it seems to be like fighting this one a bit, then already down to a 4:01. So yeah, he just sort of had a good strong finish, but I think the middle section lost it a bit. But yeah, good to see Stephen out, and good luck for the marathon training. Another sort of more snippets of random news. It's interesting, some marathon plans here. Matt Fox, having done 3 sub 2:20 marathons in the last few months, is now decided to go even more crazy for 2025. He's talked about running 8 marathons, almost a marathon a month, with an ambition to crack a 2:15 marathon, which now with his PB at 2:28 mid, doesn't look quite as unrealistic. And he was pointing out that Yuki Kawaichi was very much renowned for this sort of race a marathon as often as possible. And my friend Ian Berry Bowers, one year, not too long ago, did 17 sub 3s in the same year. And now I don't think he does marathons at all. So I think he sort of made the most of that when he was able to do so. And just goes to show then that sometimes that age catches up with you. So Matt is not really that old yet. I think he's still 35, something like that. So, you know, you would argue that pretty much prime age for marathon running. And it's interesting with this Sweat Elite channel. I mean, he started this sort of focusing on obviously the elite athletes. And I think it's becoming more and more a channel that's just about his progress, which I think is in a way more interesting. I think it's becoming more of a personal channel. He does still do some videos of elite athletes, but I think now actually if you're going for a 2:15 and seeing how you do that, I think it's more relatable than perhaps is seeing random elite athletes that you may have vaguely heard of and just doing random sessions. You don't quite sort of see the full picture of them. So I like the fact that he takes you through with the full training schedule, all these sort of potions and things that he has, all the problems he's having with cramps and how he deals with it. Bit on shoes there, where they've got the Super Blast on. I think he's still very much an Alphafly fan. And on other marathon news, I saw that Aubrey's been given a place in the London Marathon via the Cooper app. So made a point that he's going to try and compare the Cooper app to the Runner app, which he had been using apparently before. So it's interesting with Runner, isn't it? They managed to drop Matt Choi, and Aubrey seems to have jump ship himself from runner over to Cooper. And I think Cooper is also the app used by the YouTuber that I'm no longer able to mention. I'm sure you know who that is. So yeah, has anyone used the Cooper app or indeed the runner app? How do you find that? Or do you prefer more like I do and have more one-to-one coaching? Interesting, and Matt Fox actually provides coaching. I think that's probably part of his main money stream now. Maybe that's why the videos haven't been quite so much. He's making that business on the side, which is a bit more sort of steady business, isn't it? Because then you've got a set of clients and you've got steady income. That's kind of how Matt Rees works. And Matt Rees himself did a video when he was talking about his ambitions, and he's going for a sub 220. Got a bit of flack in the comments and from people saying that's not very realistic, but I think Matt has sort of said that he liked to have a bit of a actual real target rather than just saying I'm going to be running as fast as I can. And he got a bit of free advertising for Saw there, which also I know Matt likes, and this Matt as well. So yeah, I did get a Saw top. Didn't really find it any faster than my Nike top, so it was 8 grams lighter. So I suppose it all counts, doesn't it? And I think Matt's first race in 2025 is the Houston Marathon. So I'm interested to see how he gets on, and indeed whether he can actually continue to improve doing this amount of mileage. And there's Reem, his wife there, looks to be sort of hovering along, carrying the camera. She's I'm not quite sure what she's on there. That's rather a good way of following someone, isn't it? They now live in Chicago, don't they? Which is, I think that scene is often seen in Kafusi videos. I don't think Kafusi now lives in Chicago, so we don't see him running on that waterfront anymore, do we? Now, the Adios 9 has just been released. I managed to pick up a pair, but I also noticed that the original Adios shoes have come out as a lifestyle shoe. I did actually have, I think I had the second version after the original Adios, and I raced a few half marathons in them, and I managed to do most of my sort of best races in inverted commas before super shoes in what was effective now the Adios 1, which was the first boost version. So yeah, it's kind of almost tempted to go and buy this one, but I'm not quite sure whether actually this is like a stitch by stitch remake, as they say, or just sort of a silhouette when they just sort of gear it up for the casual market. I think it had adiprene foam in it, which I'm sure now would be very, very ordinary. I see Robin Marbut did a Road to Trail channel. He did a video on the Boston 8 where he said it wasn't quite as good as he remembered. So yeah, which is kind of what I thought. So you're not entirely surprising, but it just goes to show how well shoes have gone on. And here's the shoe meister himself, Ed Budd. He's already got the review of the Adios 9 out. I didn't even know it was out until I saw his review, so dropped a ball there. But I did log on to the Adidas website and found that the 13.5 had like sold out, or at least wasn't there. And then I checked on again in the evening, and then 3 pairs had appeared. So I'm gonna have to try and work them past Sue. And I'm not sure that I really need what is effectively a minimalist, plateless shoe at the moment, but it does look to be extremely light, and I think I wish I'd have this shoe back in the sort of 2016 era when I was really a bit more fitter and could really appreciate these sort of shoes. But yeah, it does sort of think, oh, at the moment, you think, oh, it's got a really low stack. It's about, I think it's 21 at the front, maybe 27 at the back, something like that. 6 or 7 mil drop. You think, oh, is that going to feel really awful? But Ed did say he went out for a 10k road running, and he said, well, even his creaky legs felt okay. But yeah, I just sort of feel that these sort of shoes, I like the idea of them. The reality of them may be somewhat different. I've got my Novablast 5 have come in. I haven't actually managed to run in them yet. I think I might do a little run tomorrow just to see how they are. And I've also got some Mount to Coast stability shoes. Now, they've actually sent those to me. So I thought, oh, if people send me shoes, then nice. They're the only brand that have done so far. So yeah, I've been keen to see those as well, because at the moment I feel like I need a bit of stability with my Achilles issues. At least with my time off, I feel I've had a bit of opportunity to rest the legs a bit, and I don't feel generally rubbish. I think it always feel rubbish around Christmas time. I don't really like the time at all. But yeah, at least soon it will be the shortest day, won't it? And then in the evenings we'll start to get lighter again, albeit very slowly. And yeah, I can get out for those midsummer evening runs again. Never really much of a person for going out running in the morning, so especially in this sort of weather. Anyway, so I better call it on this one this week. Bit of a bitty one this week, but I hope you enjoyed keeping this series going. Also, it's a good one for me to do when I'm not really able to do too much of my own running. I'm sure you're not really interested in 2 weeks of me blowing my nose and stuff like that. But yeah, best wishes to John Broom, who seems to have possibly gone down with it as well. And be careful with your running. I'm sure he'd be keen to maintain his streak, but sometimes you've got to think, well, actually, is having a day off better than just sort of maintaining some arbitrary streak? Because it ultimately won't make you run any faster if you have a day off. And I think Edward's kind of lukewarm with these Adios 9s. maybe not as quite as enthusiastic them as he has been in previous editions. But yeah, Adidas has so many shoes at the moment, isn't he? But at least this one is actually, they just sort of do a drop of it and you can go and buy it, unlike the Evo SL where there's all sorts of raffles and stuff like that. And I always think, well, on the face of it, the Adios 9 looks more attractive to me than the Evo SL, because I think, well, if you've got a lightweight shoe, and well, you may as well have a very, very lightweight shoe, mightn't you? Rather than one that's kind of, yeah, somewhere in the middle. Anyway, we shall see. So I hope you found it interesting. Like and subscribe on that, and see you next one then. Bye. So one more here is Q on the Run. Now this is Todd Quiney and also, I believe, Carl Quiney. And I presume they're brothers, but I'm not totally sure. When I looked up on Power of 10, there's 5 Quineys that run for Tipton. So I presume they can't all be brothers. So yeah, perhaps you could tell me in the comments how they're all related. In this video, only Todd was running. Now, as you can see, the common theme earlier that everyone knows each other, this is Brett Elesmore there and also Ryan Baker, who I've already mentioned. And interesting that he's got a GoPro strapped to his head there. It doesn't look overly comfortable, does it? But he ran very well despite that. And another one who had a POV view of the race, and no commentary on that one as I recall. So we'll probably just skip through to the end. I think he ran quite well, but it wasn't perhaps his day. He said he'd been suffering from a bit of a virus, so I think just getting one more race in. His PB I've got here as 33.08 as opposed to 35.05 that he ran. So a good solid run, and one I'll be very pleased with for sure. I think we saw a 5k split there of 17:13. Well, I did notice in this race, despite the fact it's arguably the fastest course in the country, that you do have a couple of dead turns. I think it's a 2-lap course, so presumably you have to do that dead turn twice. So you think, well, take that dead turn out, and that might be 5 seconds quicker, wouldn't it? But yeah, I think his first mile was 5:27 and a 5:33. So perhaps just a bit of a bold start, but don't forget there's that downhill first mile, isn't there? If we skip on to the end, there's Andy Maguire on the camera duty this time. There's Brett Elesmore, another good run from him. And Ryan Baker there just outshot on the green. So yeah, all having a nice good post-race chat. I always enjoy the post-race commentaries. You often see them on my videos. So good to see another channel getting plenty of these in. So yeah, fascinating to come across all these different channels and ones I'll be keen to follow going forwards.